Hello, this is Andrine, your Jewish American Priestess, and I'm going to do reading this day for the upcoming Shabbat, middle of Sukkot. We're almost to the end of Sukkot. It's been an amazing, beautiful week for us here out in our sukkah, and I'm not reading from the sukkah today, but it's just been gorgeous weather and we've been really enjoying it out there. Maybe I'll get a sukkah reading in before the end of Sukkot. We'll see. But today we're going to do a reading for this upcoming Shabbat, which is the 20th of Tishrei. And we'll just see how things are going to be settling for today. And so I'm going to pull out some Hebrunes. I'm just going to start with 3 and then probably add some more. Let's just start with that. So the first one is the central issue. And what I have is Ayin. These are still pretty dusty. For the position that came right before, we have the letter Tet. And for the position coming up in the next phase, we have the letter Pei. So our central issue here for right now is the Ayin. And Ayin is the letter that is representative of an eye. Some say that it is it's 2 eyes and that optic nerve that goes back to the brain. So it speaks to sight and vision, both the vision that we have in order to see things clearly, but also for being watched over. It says that Havaya looks and watches over all of the people who wrestle with the divine. And Ayin is also the number 70 in Gematria, so it represents a completion, 7 being the number of days of creation, and 10 times 7 being this ultimate manifestation of that. So some kind of completion is coming in right now. And there are lots of cycles of 70 in our tradition. There are 70 descendants of Noah that come through the flood. And there are 70 souls that go down to Egypt with Yaakov and his family and tribe. And there are 70 elders in the desert with Moshe, as well as 70 seats on the Sanhedrin. And interestingly, in each of those cases, it's 70 plus 1, because we have the 70 descendants plus Noah, the 70 souls that went to Egypt plus Jacob, the 70 elders in the desert plus Moses, the 70 seats on the Sanhedrin plus the Nasi. So each of these is actually 71. And so in the Zohar, it is said that Ayin can be exchanged with Aleph, in part because of that 70 plus 1, and in part because they're both letters that don't have a sound unless they're paired with a consonant or a specific vowel. So it's got this idea of oneness as well as of completion. And so that's something to keep in mind. So there's this wholeness, this oneness that's happening, this vision, this sight that's we're able to see and be watched over, and this completion that's coming up right now for you. And one more thing about Ayin is it is linked to the foundation of laughter. So there's something that's coming to an end, and there's this oneness or wholeness that's coming out of that, and there's laughter that is affiliated with it. So that's what's up right now in our reading. the thing that came just before that is the Tav. And interestingly, the Tav is the last letter in the Hebrew alphabet, and it is a sign or a seal. So it's what came right before now is, I'm guessing it has to do with the end of the previous year, maybe the end of the Shemitah also, the cycle where we let the land lie fallow every 7 years, and we just finished a Shemitah year, so it's a big ending. So there's something to do with it ending or being sealed, as we went through Yom Kippur, being sealed in the book of life, because it is a stamp or a seal, like a signature at the end of the Aleph Bet. It is said to be this idea of cycles, again, a finality, but there's also reincarnation. So there's something about our past lives being stamped onto us. Maybe our ancestors, those Ushpizin who we are inviting into our sukkahs right now, are these ancestors that we invite in there that are stamped onto us when we are born into this life. So I don't know exactly. It is the last letter. It's one of the double letters. It has to do with the foundation of sovereignty and slavery. Those two, that binary opposite, and neither one is necessarily good or bad. But something that just came before now may have had to do with determining whether we are sovereign or slaves to a thing. It rules over the celestial body of the moon in the sky. And the moon has affiliations with mystery and femininity. And we just came through the full moon time, so maybe it's just that the full moon has come for Sukkot, and as we're almost to the completion of that. But we have this Tav, this stamp of the seal that came just before now. And now we are moved into this period of time where we have sight and vision and laughter and completion and oneness. And what's coming up in the future soon is the letter Pei. And the letter Pei represents a mouth. It is said to be the mouth of the divine speaking the world into existence. In the beginning, God said, it's, is the first lines of the Torah. And so it is this mouth that is speaking the world into existence. So it has to do with communication. It has to do with speaking and creation through speech, that the words we say matter, that speech matters, that we can create or destroy with our words. And ideally, we'll choose creation. But it's also the number 80 in Gematria. And the number 80, it comes right after the Ayin, so it's 70 and then 80. And the number 80 represents the infinite. So when you have creation, you have the seventh day, and that's the end of creation. And then the eighth day is the infinite. And 10 times 8 is that ultimate manifestation of the infinite. So it's got this idea of that which goes on forever. And you can see sort of in the shape of the letter, it looks like a spiral. And so it's that infinitely spiraling into our DNA, into our atomic structure, and infinitely spiraling out into the universe, which seems infinite as well. And this labyrinth that is the voice of the divine speaking creation into existence, and sort of vortex of breath out of which sound and meaning and substance comes. So 80 is this manifestation of the infinite, and the letter Pei is that mouth that does all that speaking. It has to do with the presence and communication. It rules over the planet Venus in the sky, and it has the binary foundation of grace and ugliness, so like beauty and ugliness. So, our speech can be beautiful and it can also be ugly. and we strive toward making it more beautiful. So that's what's coming up in the near future, is this idea of communication, speech, and the infinite after the final, and after the final letter, and after this this time of another completion, we move into the infinite. And I'm going to pull out a couple more letters that will tell us what's going to help us through this time of seeing, and this time of being seen, and where we are in this completion time of whatever that is, coming to an end. The things that may help us through during this period. The thing that may help us through is the hay. And I'm going to pull out another one that we'll put below that will represent that which is of concern or maybe challenging right now. And the letter we have is Tet. Okay, so that which is going to help us right now is the letter Hay. And Hay is the letter that begins the word Hineni. It is the word of the letter that represents presence. So being present, and also the presence of the divine with us. It is 2 of the 4 letters of the Tetragrammaton, which is the unpronounceable name of the divine, the Yud He Vav He. And for me, when we stack those letters and we have the Yud on top and then a He and then a Vav and a He, it looks like this could be the shoulders and arms, or the hips and legs. So to me, it also speaks to sort of having action in the world. And interestingly, it is the foundation of sight. So we've got sight here, but we've also got a different kind of sight here. It's, this is an eye, which is why that's connected to sight. And this is connected to the foundation of sight in the Sefer Yetzirah, the book of creation. Each of the letters has a foundation it's connected to. So this one is about sight and light. It is the number 5 in Gematria, so it can speak to the 5 fingers and action in the world. And like I said, the arms and the legs is how it comes across to me. But it has to do with presence, being present, showing up. When one says Hineni, it's usually an answer to the divine calling one's name. So the divine says one's name, and the person answers, Hineni, I'm here. I'm here, and I'm ready for service. I'm ready to do your will, whatever it is. It rules over the constellation Aries in space, and Aries is representative of the ram that is both the shofar that we blast at Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, but also the ram that was caught in the thicket, so that Abraham was able to use that for his sacrifice rather than his son, Yitzhak. So being able to see that ram was an important factor. And so, and also Aries can be about being headstrong or, combative in some sorts as well. So maybe that's what's up with regards to what's going to help us through this time of completion and vision, is remaining present, sitting in the presence of the divine, being available for service, doing the actions that we need to do with our hands and our arms and our legs, and being able to see when we're presented with an alternative to what we're sure is our path. When Abraham went to sacrifice Isaac, that's the message he had been given, is you should go sacrifice your son. And if he had stopped listening at that point, that would have been it. That would have been the end of the story. But instead, he was able to see when the divine came to him and said, Abraham, he could say, Hineni, and then here's this ram that you should take instead. So I think there's something about that, being able to continue to listen and see what's being shown to us as an alternative to what we're pretty sure is going to happen. One never knows what's going to happen. So maybe that's what's going to help us through this period of time, is having sight, and also remaining present and remaining willing to hear the messages that are being given to us right now in the world. And the thing that is coming up as being of concern, or perhaps something that, I don't know, we're afraid of, is the letter Tet. And the letter Tet is a vessel. It's like a cup or a basket of some sort. It is the number 9. So in terms of vessels, it can frequently be seen to represent the womb, as there are 9 months of gestation in the human. So we have this vessel that is a womb, and it could represent gestation, but it also is it begins the word tov, which means good. So the goodness within a thing is what Tet often represents. It hides goodness within it. Because it is the number 9, it harkens back to Rosh Hashanah, when we have those blasts of the shofar in sets of 9. So it can have to do with renewal, rebirth, that kind of thing, when we're talking about a womb, again, rebirth, and gestation. And it has to do with the foundation of taste in the body. So since it's on the lower line here, I'm guessing it means there's some fear associated with it. And what one might be afraid of during this time of vision and completion is that we haven't finished gestating what it is we need to gestate. We perhaps are afraid that there isn't goodness within whatever it is we are gestating right now. And when we find ourselves in that place of fear, the best thing to do is move up to this acceptance of what is being completed, maybe laughing a little bit at ourselves or the situation, and also remaining present, remaining available to see what needs to be seen, and sitting in the presence of the divine, and trusting that whatever is being completed is just what's happening right now. And then we can move forward into this era of communication and the infinite, and sovereignty that's coming for us in the near future. I'm going to pull out a few more letters, since we're only doing one reading today rather than 3 or 4. And the next 2 letters are going to be what's going to help us in the near future, and what will maybe be of concern. And the thing that's going to help us in the near future is the Ein Sof. That's the blank one. And what we want to be aware of that may be of concern is the Lamed. And then I'll throw out one more at the very end here. So the Ein Sof is this blank rune, which is just the nothingness. It's the tohu vavohu, the void, the raw material, the primordial material out of which everything is made. And it is that stuff that is made out of divinity and has made everything else out of itself. So that's what's going to help us right now, as we're focusing on the infinite. Focus more on the infinite, right? As we go into this infinity phase, realize that the infinite is all there is. That which came before and to which we will return. And everything that exists in the universe, including you and me and this rattle and this ceramic hand and that crown and this lace, is all made out of divinity. And we can trust in that when things are challenging, when we start getting overwhelmed by the concept of infinity. If we can rest in the infinity, rest in the knowledge that it is, that all the things, good, bad, and indifferent, are all made up of the same stuff. The entire universe is made up of this primordial material, which is made up of divinity. And for me, sometimes just knowing that and believing that and trusting in that helps me to get through a challenging time. And one of the concerns that may be coming up is the Lamed. And the Lamed is the letter that reaches above the line. It is the only letter that reaches up high, and it speaks to that desire for elevation, that we have this desire to reach up toward the divine. I have these high aspirations, and Lamed is the first letter of the word Lev, which means heart. So it's about the heart being elevated, the heart having these aspirations up toward the divine. And it's also about connection and teaching and learning, about exploring the soul, looking at the earth, about prayer and meditation and praise. And it's also the letter that represents the month of Tishrei, which is where we are right now. It has to do with action as its foundation, and the constellation Libra, which is the constellation that we're in right now. So maybe we're concerned about something to do with the heart. Maybe we're concerned about not being elevated enough to understand or grasp what's coming. Maybe we're afraid of learning or teaching what we're supposed to learn or teach, and not understanding what's happening right now. Or maybe we're just afraid of this time of the month, this brand new year, and what's going to come, what's going to happen. Maybe our hearts are broken for some reason. And if that's the case, return up here to the infinite. Return up here to this, again, resting in the understanding that divinity is that which created all, and out of which all is created. And sometimes for me, that's a reassuring thought. And then I'm going to pull out one last Hebrew for this reading today as we go into our Shabbat in this beautiful holiday of Sukkot, where we're bringing in our harvest and celebrating all the things that we've gathered in, and calling in our ancestors and our beloved, benevolent, wise, and loving ancestors to visit us in our sukkah. What is the one last message that we want today? And that is the Shin. Beautiful. The Shin is one of the mother letters. So it represents the mother letter of the creation element of fire. It is, you can see that it looks like it's got some flames licking up there from the bottom. And it has all these yuds and vavs in it. And vavs are connection letters, and yuds are divine letters and like atoms. But fire, interestingly, of all the elements, is it's like plasma. It's not in a constant fixed state. You can have solids and gases and liquids, but fire itself is just this really strange and unique element. And that's what's coming up, is this idea of fire. And fire is, it's passion and it's warmth. It's that which, both warms up the tea and the soup, but also can just totally level the forest, or, a volcano that can take down an entire mountain if you have enough heat. And Shin represents all those things. But it also represents Shekhinah, the first letter of the divine indwelling presence of the divine. And Shalom, which is wholeness. And Shana, which is the year. and even sleep, all these different concepts begin with shin. And so it's fire and it's also peace. It's all those things together. It has to do with the summer in time and just the idea of heat, and the head in the body. It has to do with the sky in the world. So the sun and the moon and the stars and all the lights in the sky and all the fiery things in the world, the passion, the anger, and also the love. And that's what's coming up for us. And interestingly, with regards to ancestors, it sometimes can be said to represent the seven mothers, and the seven, because of the three vavs, the three yuds and the four vavs in this configuration. And since it is a mother letter, I think of it as the seven mothers that come to visit us in the sukkah during Sukkot. And I'm going to try to name them off. Let's see if I can do it. We have Sarah. We have Rivka, who is Rebecca. We have Rachel, who is Rachel. We have Leah. We have Bilhah and Zilpah. And then I like to add Hagar, although some people might add Ruth. But we have at least seven mothers that come visit us in the sukkah, and we can invite in more mothers as we wish. Those fiery mothers, the ones who have that passion and love and sometimes that anger to fight for what is right and what is just in this world. And so that's what's coming up for us in the little further in the future. This idea of heat, maybe even as we go into the winter, we have heat, a hearth, warmth in our homes and in our hearts, and peace and presence as we go forward in time. So just going back over it, we've come out of this time of seal, the completion of Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah, the being sealed for life in the world. And we've moved into this period of vision where we're being asked to see clearly, but also to know that we are watched over by the divine. And what will help us in this time period is remaining present and remaining available, and also, again, seeing more clearly, really honing in on sight and being open to seeing different paths than what we expect things to be. And what we may fear right now is that worry about that there is no goodness, or that just what we're gestating is not good right now. But we need to remain present, remain faithful, remain ready to serve. And that will bring us into this time of speaking, communicating more effectively, and into the infinite, and to this idea of ultimate infinity. And while we may be afraid that we don't have heart for it, or that our hearts are broken, we can hold on to the knowledge that the infinite is all. All is created from the infinite, and we'll all return to the infinite at some point. And we can trust and have peace in that. And that will bring us into this time of peace. Peace and presence, shalom and shekhinah, and fire, passion, warmth, hearth, and home, with that maternal love of all the mothers, of all the divine mothers, and of all the ancestor mothers. And that is our reading for this upcoming Shabbat of Sukkot 5783. I thank you so much for watching. If you like my readings, I hope that you'll subscribe and click the bell so that you will get notifications when I have new readings up. And I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Shabbat Shalom.